right now.
All right. Hello, everyone. So we were talking about having everybody do introductions, but I think there is too many folks for us to get through that and still be able to talk about this. So, which is great. I'm happy so many people are joining us for this. That means their interest. So Amanda and I will be leading this really very open discussion about a possible lending alliance to a library alliance. We are very much at the beginning stages of this. I mean, it's hard to even call it a stage. It's more of an idea. In case you don't know me, my name is Josh Epstein, and I am the manager at the Northeast Seattle Tool Library and part of Sustainable Northeast Seattle. And yeah, we're talking about expanding our tool library, and we're talking to a lot of new tool libraries and working closely with Amanda to connect tool libraries. So yeah, Amanda, I know you were just speaking, but who are you?
Yeah, hi. Who am I? Great question. My name's Amanda Miller. I'm the executive director of the South King Tool Library. You're probably tired of hearing from me if you've been here for 2 days, but oh well. I've been working with Josh a little bit, and this has always been a part of the conversation as long as I have been participating on the board of tool libraries, on steering committees, meeting folks in the community. So yeah, Josh, do you want to share? Do you want me to share?
I can share.
Too many screens open.
Yeah, I'll share.
We really just have a very loosely based presentation here because we wanted to have participation and questions coming from you guys. You guys are our neighbors. Oh wait, I think that was from yesterday. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for what this tool library alliance would be. We just heard about 501 Commons and NPIP. I'm not too familiar with NPIP, but I've worked with 501 Commons before for training and mostly around volunteers. And I found it really interesting. Tell me if you guys have heard this before, but we have a unique group of volunteer sector people and skills and levels of engagement that are not really traditional nonprofit structures. So there's just, again, huge potential as to what we could do with this. We just threw up, again, who, what, why, all the W's, because that could be guiding principles of what we were going to talk about. But Josh, do you want to talk about the why? I know that was important.
I do want to talk about that. And I also just want to talk about what this next half an hour could look like. Again, very open, but there's a bunch of us on this Zoom, and we want to, Amanda and I, we won't be talking as much. We want to hear from you all. With that, I encourage everybody to step up and step back. If you're not speaking much, share your ideas. But remember, we don't have a lot of time, so I encourage everybody to try to be very succinct with their ideas and leave space for those others so that everybody can get their voice heard. So yeah, I do want to start with the why. And basically, there's efficiencies being lost. We need to be scaling bigger. I was liking hearing about with the repair cafes that we're trying to teach people to do this more than just fix a lamp, teach people to fix a lamp. It's very much teach a man to fish. So I think this is a similar idea of, we know if we really want to make the impact we want to make, we're going to need to team up and create more efficiencies and work together more.
Yeah.
The who is you. The who is everyone. Everyone that wants to be involved isn't a jerk. Maybe even if you are a jerk, only kind of a jerk.
Did someone unmute? Did they want to say something? All right.
The what is what we're talking about now. The when is, I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. This is going to be growing. I think the Lending Alliance is already happening in some ways with conversations like this. We have an email address, so it's official. where is also an interesting question of like, are we going to start small and just start in the Puget Sound area, or is this countrywide or international? The how is probably the hardest part of this, but these are what we're trying to just start the discussion on. And the other framing that I want to put on this is that we're not going to figure this out now. Obviously, this is just food for thought and more questions. So just remember, we're not going to resolve anything now. So think of the good questions, think of the ideas, and this will be the beginning of some conversations. Amanda, anything you want to add on that?
I was just going to say that the what, again, like 501 Commons was explaining, with just fiscal sponsorship, that is usually a skilled educational resource for nonprofits that are starting out. As we are growing, as we're beginning more and more programs, the reason I know so many of you is because I looked at what you were doing. I've touched, so many different parts of the region to try to reach out and connect and figure out like what works, what doesn't. Equity is kind of my guiding principle when it comes to what we're doing, and we can't do that working in a vacuum. I can't do that by just looking at people that are working with people that look like me or have similar lives and experiences as me. So I want to hear from so many different resources to try to be a better servant to our community and figure out what that looks like. So just sort of expanding what that is. So yeah, perfect transition there. About, what have your challenges been? What I love the stories and I love learning from them, and I can share. We started out, first of all, our biggest challenge, we opened in the middle of the pandemic. In 2020, we finished construction. We had railroading full stops before that, where we had a site location that was going to be built upon, and it got pulled out underneath us from permitting. We had to get through permitting of building a building to be able to open our doors. We send appeals to the governor because opening during the pandemic, we weren't viewed as an essential resource, probably because they stopped reading after they saw a library and thought we were some kind of communal space, which is the goal. But once we figured out that we could actually pass out tools in a drive-through sense, people were eating in drive-through restaurants, why not? So I stopped asking and just started doing that so we could get tools into people's hands and be more effective. So we'd love to hear, if somebody has a story that particularly sticks out that, maybe you're still salty about it, please let us know. I think another great example is the different models that exist as far as all of our different organizations. I lead with free. I say that we are a free tool library because we highlight that as part of all of our programs. Everything we do is free. If folks ask if they, we ask for 2 points of contact for people to join. And basically that's because we don't want to have people disenfranchised by the necessity to prove their income or to prove their residency. If they're houseless and they need to borrow a tool, that doesn't make them less valuable than somebody that lives in a multi-million-dollar home. And that guy with the multi-million-dollar home, that doesn't mean that he doesn't need to borrow a tile saw. Maybe he hates that. Maybe he doesn't want to, have to do tile again, which if you've ever done tile, you get it. Like, nobody wants to do that unless they want to do that forever. But I see somebody put something in the chat. So let me see. Tool Library Conferences. Yes, I was there. I was still breastfeeding, so I had to go hide in the back room to go. Anyway, sorry, that was fun. I had to take a ferry across to Vashon. And that was lovely. Getting conferences, things like this are how we get things started. Josh and I are looking beyond what, today looks like for us and how we can follow up with it. So there's the email address. Josh had a great opportunity to appear on the Today Show. And so we have been able to connect with people all over the country that are starting or interested in starting tool libraries. And yes, so yeah, the 2019 regional conference was so great. And there was so much information that came into it. We could have spent 3 more days probably just discussing it, but I really want to just, maybe if we stop sharing and just put people's faces onto the screen. What do you guys, oopsie doodles, Dante, I pinned you. I don't know how to undo that. But there we go. Yeah, does anyone want to unmute and say any thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in.
Yeah, Liz.
So, I'm involved with the CARE Network right now, and I recently had an opportunity to go to a national Zoom for an organization that organizes caregivers. Well, actually, no, the organization organizes cooperatives. And this is through AARP, and they're working pretty much with disenfranchised communities to put together business models that included, that allowed for equity and access, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and for people to be equal players in the business. And they brought up the example of ACE, as ACE Hardware is one of the largest cooperatives in the United States. It's made up of individual, they aren't even franchises, they're business owners that band together to do common marketing, common purchasing, common branding, and they're independently owned in all these different places. And so I'm just putting it out to see if anybody's considered a cooperative model rather than a old-fashioned business association as a potential framework for this alliance.
Yeah, is that like a micro, I mean, not micro, that's macro, but that's versions of fiscal sponsorship, I mean, under the same guiding principles that could be applied. I mean, the cooperative model can be small or large, right, as far as that goes. The way that works is that they are all on the same page and have reliable resources with all the same models and structures and things. Yeah, I'd be interested. I don't know.
So there's a Northwest Center for Cooperative Development in Olympia. And I think it'd be worth a conversation with them as to what might be a potential development of some kind of structure.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different tiers to this, right? So Amanda put into the chat about funding for beginning the tool lending library, and our funding actually started out with the Department of Ecology PPG grant, which was, again, through our fiscal sponsorship, we were able to apply for that. Shout out to Faith, I see her there. But we, were able to start repair cafes to build a trajectory to do that. And then finding what our values were in our community where we could launch that. It's so different for each community and each necessity. I had the thought about like time banks, and I wasn't sure how those had been put into effect, because volunteers being really at the center of all of our organizations, even if we have paid staff, still reliant on some of those. And I mean, that's just another tier of how we all engage with volunteers that we encounter, how they come to us. So I'm working with a group and trying to see where that might go. I mean, there's no wrong answer. This is really just a brain dump session. So I'd be curious to see if anyone else has experience. Dante did put the link to the co-op there, so I'll write that down.
I want to get Heather. I see Heather's hand up.
So I think this alliance idea is a really good idea. I'm wondering, because at the previous summits of this nature, the issue of insurance has come up again and again and again, and we just saw the person speak. I wonder if it could just start as simple, just like you said, you only have a concept, but maybe as the very first step is going ahead and, or do you have a fiscal, are you a 501c3, Josh?
Yeah, so we're Sustainable Northeast Seattle, and I actually literally just emailed NPIP because I'm going to be talking to Byron about this exact, we're on the same page. I think
so what I'm thinking is buying insurance for multiple tool libraries, so the multiple tool libraries would become, those that wish to join could join this alliance or cooperative or whatever, could become just basically a member, essentially, of that one organization, just for the purposes strictly of insurance at first, and then maybe build from there. But this could be that major thing that people have been angsting about
Yes.
the past, many years.
I completely agree. And we're talking to, I think I mentioned them yesterday, Station North is a great tool library in Baltimore. And that was their first idea too. And Amanda and I mean, it is the bane of most tool libraries' existence, is both the liability insurance and then also talking about potentially that could move into employee benefits. But there's also social media, I think Zenny was talking about, would be next. But I agree, starting with one of those really meaty ones like insurance might be the very one to get a handle on this, kind of beast.
Well, and it's the, I don't know and can't wrap my head really around insurance, but I sat down with our commercial insurance provider, which is the same as the Tacoma Tool Library, which Neil from Vashon, who used to be in insurance, did a deep dive to kind of research, and all of us are underwritten by the same company, which is wild. And there's just a level of how we can, leverage what it is that we need. I think what I find, at least for our organization, our variables with insurance are dependent on the contracts and agreements that we have to elevate. So we're working under every level of government right now, city, county, state, and federal, and each requires different qualifications. This is something that I brought up to Cami as potential topics as we, look towards this. And I mean, thank you to Zero Waste Washington for starting these summits and these alliances. And I don't want to disclude anyone from the conversation, but tool libraries have really unique needs when it comes to the junctures of these insurance and the needs that go.
So the repair events also need insurance.
Exactly.
So actually maker spaces maybe as well if they're more informal.
Well,
so
and actually tool libraries,
higher spectrum, it would be very helpful.
tool libraries have to carry additional insurance for repair events. And every aspect of what it is that we do, I'm looking at my notes here, from the class codes to what they consider subcontracting and the different tiers and levels there. We asked about self-insuring, and I was going to bring up the questions about exclusions to the NPIP guide, but I didn't want to put them on the spot because we were reading our policy with my business manager, and our employees are excluded, participants are excluded, volunteers are excluded, contractors are excluded. So who's covered? There's a level of, a bit of mystique that goes with insurance, and I get it, but we have to look at what the bigger picture is. And even my insurance provider said that she canceled her life insurance. And I said, what? She said, yeah, I canceled my life insurance. I just have term, and we put our money into an account, that pulls and would be for, it was more complex than it made it sound. But the fact that she, had that breadth of she gets it, that insurance is not quite as mysterious. So this collective effort of where we're going with things, I think what we want to get is what would be most useful to people. Of course, insurance is really important.
Yeah.
What else would be funding? Again, alignments with how to pursue funding, which I'm excited for the next groups to speak about that. And what else could be, kind of congealed? We talked about marketing a little bit.
Can I just piggyback on that?
Yeah.
I think Amanda's hitting exactly what, this is an opportunity. We only got about 10 minutes. And so again, this is the start of the conversation, just Amanda kept on using a word when we were talking about this, brain dump. This is a good opportunity to not go in detail, but throw them up on the chat. I'm taking notes, or just unmute and put them out there. Challenges you're having, the first things that come to your mind that you're doing well that you could share. What comes to your mind when you think about this kind of alliance that would be helpful or needed?
I think a really big benefit from an alliance or a co-op would be group purchasing, to get bulk discounts from some of these companies that we buy a lot of stuff from. That we're all buying the same stuff, but if we bought it in bulk, we could get huge discounts.
There are tool libraries around the region that have partnerships with Stanley Tools that, provides a certain amount of, Black & Decker. They all put these sort of low-key outreach campaigns out there to connect and give back to the community. But could you imagine if a manufacturer actually wanted to, no, our stuff is so good, we're going to let tool libraries send it out there into the world to prove to people, that's an element that we've talked about as tool libraries, try before you buy. if you think that you're going to get into woodworking or food preservation and you don't want to sink $2,000 into a freeze dryer, you borrow one for a few weeks and you can see that it takes, 3 days to process what you think you can do. It might change your scope of things. And the other part of that is that if you get really into it, then there's a customer for life. Woodworking is the same way. So
I see Faith.
yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of an alliance, and I wonder about being able to articulate impact, kind of back to that conversation about outcomes and standardizing some of the ways that we talk about volunteer hours or volunteer people, or what kind of units of measurement to be able to represent statewide what the impact is of this facet of our community and economy, and then also to be able at the state to reference and direct residents statewide to the resources in their community through a common platform or a shared platform. And then I also think in terms of testimony and policy development and understanding sort of on the ground, translating to state organization, how we represent the needs and values of different legislative mechanisms that come to play. So I think from my perspective, there could be a lot of benefit to recognizing an alliance and to be able to work with an alliance that has to some extent common narrative and common communication mechanisms.
You're talking about we need big tool library to get in there and really push their weight around, right? Great. I appreciate that, Faith. Thanks for sharing those ideas. I put those down. Appreciate it.
Jean popped onto my screen as you said that, smiling precariously, as if there was a way to unify the way that that libraries measured things. I just want to point out, Amanda put another really good point: educational resources. A lot of libraries don't want to have to give all the spiels over and over again. Those are on YouTube. So much of what we do, we talk about. YouTube's a great resource. It also can be really bad. So having that vetted. There was a conversation that began a couple of years ago. I want to say Asheville was doing a whole series during the pandemic. They were getting real into the production value and stuff about different things. Another good reason was hours overlapping. We've talked about transferring items between tool libraries. That sounds a little hairy, but if there's a traveling tool library, then why not? Jean, if you guys don't know, Jean is the founder of My Turn. Do you want to say anything, Jean?
So actually, hold on 1 second. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just making sure my headphones are. Oh, they're on. Sorry. All good. So a couple of things. One, this is great. I've actually been trying to encourage and get some groups together to start an alliance. There is a little bit of infrastructure that has put in place that I'm happy to toss towards this. So there's like a WordPress setup site, minor things like that, that if someone wants to take over, that is awesome when things get to that point. The other thing, just to talk a little bit about one of the things Josh mentioned about scale. I also like to talk about replicating working models as opposed to scaling. So scaling is usually have one organization get really big. I think for this type of alliance, what we're really talking about is taking the models that work and replicating them around the country, around the world. And so and because different models are going to work in different areas and different communities, urban versus suburban versus rural, and really replicating those models that work and getting those best practices. And also sort of as Faith mentioned, really looking at what are the measurements. And I think we really need to look at that. So those measurements, one, they help us improve and help all the organizations improve, but they're also really important and tie into funding. So the more we can show the positive benefits that we have in communities, whether it's economic, social, environmental, that's gold for all of that funding opportunities that these programs, all of these programs need. So, but I don't want to I want to make sure other folks have a chance to talk. I just wanted to put a few key points out and just say, actually, last thing from the My Turn side, we have the ability to actually tie organizations together into networks, and we're going to be adding some additional features that I know one of the ideas was, someone, be able to have a membership across multiple organizations, that type of stuff. We have some starts to. So if there are organizations here that are interested in sort of maybe having cross organization memberships, we definitely love to hear about it, or any other ideas that come out of this or anything else. We're here to basically support tool libraries. I was a co-founder of the West Seattle Tool Library. It's kind of where our heart is, and we do whatever we can to help them grow and expand, and including metrics. So the CO2 metrics and some others will also be rolling out by the end of the year, which is not too long from now. So,
Don't
and
pigeonhole
with that,
yourself.
now I'll really shut up.
No, don't. There's a lot of great things that My Turn can help us do, and unifying some under that, and then there's a lot of other different ways to approach these problems. I see somebody. Will, did you want to share something? Or no? Okay, you were unmuted. Just kidding. No pressure. All right, there's some really good links in the chat too for co-op and examples with co-ops, and the way that can work. Yeah, surplus is just another example as well. We have a lot of tools that we give away to folks, starter kits, so to speak, people in transition. We get whole garages donated if we get things in it all. So we have screwdrivers to boot and everything else. Josh, was there anything else you wanted to hit on? We have just about 2 minutes left, so.
Well, I just kind of want to reiterate what we've been saying that this is the beginning of discussions, and it's so cool to hear, Gene. Like, I know we've talked about this, that you've already worked on, so it's not truly the beginning. I mean, this has been being worked on in some ways for a long time, and so we're hoping to keep this moving forward, but it's going to take some collective energy, as is how we do things. So if this excites you, or if you see the value in this, get in touch with us, because as we're all busy, we're all doing stuff, and this will only happen if we really want it to happen. So I think the insurance thing, we need one of these things that's really going to help us financially or resource wise for this to get moved forward, I think. So I think
also need someone to actually, we need somebody to take the time to do it too, because Josh and I are also working full steam ahead on a lot of other projects, and we just really want to grow this network again, not just people that look like us, have our experiences, and are the echo chambers, but we want to have people from all walks of life. So
well said.
Yeah, that's just really important to kind of take into consideration.
Yeah. But thanks for hearing us out, and hopefully this is in some ways exciting to you. It's going to be likely a slow burn unless somebody really this is a firecracker for somebody. So be in touch. I guess that's my takeaway from this.
Great. We have about 30 seconds left. Did anyone want to share anything else?
A real quick comment that might change the way we think about it is we tend to think of a tool walking away from the library, going some other place in the world, and then coming back. That use could actually be right there. So it could go out and back in situ. And, I think of things like a car analysis tool, a tire pressure monitoring reset, or, something that is used right there and then just returned.
Yeah, we do have a couple of those, our apple cider presses are like that, and we have done filling up tires. Those are the couple. So it's an interesting idea. If we had more of a resource center where that was happening, it's possible. All right, we're out of here.
Like a reuse commons? What?
Oh, that's a good idea, Amanda. We should talk more about that.
Wild.
All right, well, see you in the main room, y'all. Appreciate you. Well, I guess we got 100 seconds. Who's got 100? Who's got a bomb to drop in the last 100 seconds?
I can also close the room. Folks in the main room finish their session.
Cool. Let's do it.